Getting your seeds started off on the right foot will ensure your plants to have reliable growth, healthier plants, and higher yields. This is number 1 of a seed starting series to help you learn and improve your seed starting skills. Of course, one of the first things that you need to do is figure out where you're going to be starting your seeds. And it's all depends on your space, how many seeds you're going to start. So you can do them in the windowsill, you can do them in a cold frame, a greenhouse, or a propagation station. All of these have advantages to them, so you need to figure out where you're going to start your seeds. Windowsills can offer an easy solution for seed starting when you're doing few amounts of seeds or even for beginners. Now, if your house is anything like ours, there's plenty of light during the summer months, but not during the winter months. So you may need to pick a different window or a different location to start your seeds. Plus, windowsills during the winter time can get kind of cold at night. So you'll probably want to remove your seeds into a place where it's a little bit warmer and then put them back in the morning when the sun is there. That way they get a jump start a little bit faster and they don't become weak. Cold frames are another really good option for starting seedlings, and especially when they're placed in full sun. Now, during the winter months, cold frames aren't generally heated, so you may want to protect that cold frame because it can still freeze within that cold frame and hurt those little seedlings. So you may want to put a tarp or a blanket, a frost blanket, something over them just to insulate that during the nighttime when the temperatures drop really low, because that can really hurt your little tender seedlings. Plus, during the day, if you don't open it or vent it, then it can build up that heat and create too much heat and actually burn those little seedlings. So you do have to monitor this just a little bit more than maybe in a windowsill. You can start seedlings in a propagation station. Now, these can be as simple or complex as like a chamber where it controls the humidity and also controls the light and really gets those seedlings off to a jump start. But most of us aren't going to be using those or have the space for them. So you can kind of do a replica of this of just simple shelves with some heat mats and some artificial lights. Then you can put them anywhere you want, and it just kind of controls the environment for those little seedlings and gives them off to a really good start. Greenhouses are perfect for seed starting for the professional or the hobbyist, especially if it's a heated greenhouse. It's a controlled environment, offers plenty of sunshine, plus it keeps the humidity up, and that really amps up the germination rate of your little seedlings. Viable seed is a must. The fresher the better. Fresh seed always germinates and pops through that soil a lot faster. You have sturdier plants, they're stronger, and they always produce a lot better. Now, I'm not saying that old seed isn't going to germinate, but the germination rate is a lot lower and the chance of survival is definitely a lot lower. And if we're going to be putting our time and effort into planting seed, then we might as well use viable seed that we know is going to produce well for us. Most seeds are going to keep for at least 2 years, especially when they're stored properly. But there's some seeds like parsnips that actually last less than a year. So think of your seeds like food storage. You want to use it and rotate it, use it or lose it. Get your seeds picked out or ordered early so that you have the best selection. It's really fun to start your own seeds because you have such a bigger selection than what the nurseries offer in plants during the springtime. Plus, you save a lot of money, it's a great skill to have, and kids love to get involved with this too. When it comes to seed starting mediums or soils, there's lots of choices that you can use. I love to mix my own when I have plenty of time, and you can do larger amounts. But if you're just doing a small amount or you're just too busy, then bag mixes are great. Just look for a light soil so that those little seedlings can pop their heads through the surface of that soil. Now, some of my favorites are Cocoa Bop, Ocean Forest, and Happy Frog, and these are all from Fox Farm. What you don't want to use is soil from the garden. Generally, it's really heavy and the seedlings don't do as good in that. Plus, it can carry pathogens that can transfer to your plants and then they end up failing. If you're getting value out of this, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot of talk about using straight compost for a seed starting medium. Now, I personally haven't had great success with that. I usually end up having some dampening off problems or the plants just don't do really good. And that's probably because the compost is either not aged enough or it's just too rich. However, I do like to mix my compost with other ingredients. So I use 1/3 compost, 1/3 vermiculite, and 1/3 coconut coir or even peat moss. Now you can also use a substitute for that peat moss or coconut coir, and that would be leaf mold. And if you want to learn how to make that, you can go here and find out more about it. It's an excellent substitute for that. You can also add other things to your soil mix that you create. Worm castings are excellent for this, and humic acid is good as well. Read the labels so that you know just the right amount to be putting in your seed starting mix so that you don't overdo it though. Soil temperature is really important for seed starting. It's actually more important than the ambient air temperature. When our temperatures are low, those seeds don't germinate very fast. They can sit there too long and they can actually rot in the soil. So if the temperatures are 70 degrees or even a little bit warmer, they're going to pop through that soil a little bit faster, and you always have healthier plants in the long run. You can emulate some heat from the bottom up with these little seed mats. You just place these right underneath your little seed trays or pots. And this helps keep that soil temperature really nice, they germinate faster, and you always end up with a little bit healthier plant in the long run. This isn't necessary, but it's just one of those things that makes seed starting a little bit nicer. When it comes to pots, there are so many choices and anything to meet your needs. These little guys here are just little like greenhouses, and they have the little peat pellets in it, so you don't even have to buy soil, and they fit perfectly right in your windowsill. Plastic nursery pots are really good because they can be used year after year. And a nice little tray that you can put all of your little pots in makes it easier to handle and move them from place to place. Cells are another really good option if you want to do a lot of transplants. The downside to it is they're small, and so they get root bound really quick. So you have to watch your little seedlings to make sure that that doesn't happen, and move them into a larger pot or even plant them outdoors before this happens. But they come in plastic and styrofoam and even the recycled little pulp here that works really good. There's coconut core pots and peat pots. And so the purpose behind these is to plant your seedling directly in these pots, and then you can take that whole entire pot and then just stick the whole thing out in the garden. Now, a lot of times is what I've found is this doesn't degrade fast enough, so I actually kind of have to tease this pot apart a little bit, kind of pull it apart so that those roots can really get the free range of the soil when you stick this into the soil. Plus, you want to make sure that that rim is buried under the soil, because it actually, especially with peat, can wick the water up out of the soil, so cover that so that it can degrade a little bit faster. You always want to have the right pot for the right project. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be putting one little tomato seed in a pot this size, because it takes a lot of medium up, and then when you transplant it outside, you're digging a bigger hole. So a small pot is fine, just watch it to make sure that they don't get root bound. One of the most important things that your seedlings are going to need is light, whether you're using a natural light or even an artificial light. And 10 to 12 hours is the optimum amount for them to develop a good plant structure. Without enough light, then their stems end up being kind of leggy, and then the leaves are pale, and then when you plant them out into the garden, then they don't perform well or even die. When you plant your little seedlings, you're going to want to remember what you planted, so labels are going to be your friend. And I've found over the years when I've used a Sharpie marker that it's faded, so I've switched to using the garden markers that are UV protectant, and that lasts all season long, so I know exactly what I've got planted. Now it's time to gather your seeds, your pots, your soil, your labels, and we'll see you in part 2 of our seed starting series. Till next time, see ya! Oh my, what are you up to now?
I'm ready for part 2 of the seed starting series.
Wow, that's ambitious for a beginner.